There's a story here that speaks to me mostly of Christopher Luxon still not understanding politics. Right? This is mostly what it speaks to me of. National leader Christopher Luxon says we should have more babies. National leader Christopher Luxon has encouraged people at an infrastructure conference to have more babies in an effort to reverse the nation's declining birth rate. In a question and answer session after the announcement, Luxon encouraged the people to have more children in what he described as a tongue-in-cheek comment. We need people, he said. Here's the deal. New Zealand stopped replacing itself in 2016. I encourage all of you to go out there and have more babies if you wish. Slide that "if you wish" in there. That would be helpful. He earlier unveiled his party's 5-point infrastructure policy and touched on the shortage of workers to plug the infrastructure deficit and build for the future at the New Zealand Building Nations Conference in Christchurch on Wednesday. New Zealand's birth rate has plummeted over the past decade, but an ageing population where more people are living longer and immigration has kept the population growing. Immigration is now at pre-pandemic levels. Distinguished Professor Emeritus Paul Spoonley said New Zealand was heading into a very different era with many more older people and fewer younger people. There are big issues around how we pay for things, where we get our workers from, he said. I think it is a thing that governments should talk about. New Zealand has moved very rapidly from replacement level fertility to well below replacement level. The total fertility rate was 1.66 in the year ending December 2022. I've seen 1.8 somewhere, so maybe we can look at that. Up slightly from 1.64 the previous year, but still well below the 2.1 needed to replace the problem. There's more I want to say about this, and there's more I've got to show about this, Chewy, but how about you jump off first and give us your thoughts?
Oh, I got some thoughts. I love how Luxon has, in a joking comment, stumbled right into the great replacement theory that so many racists love. That's great because let's get into the subtext. Basically, we can't have all of those brown immigrants coming here. We need nice white babies for Jesus. That is that is what we're talking about.
But that's the thing. It's like we talked about retirement just last week, and the thing that I said, and some people wanted to disagree with me, was the current system doesn't work. We either need to raise the age or we need more tax take. That they seem to be the only two, and this just echoes that to me. Fewer workers.
We've spoken about this. They just need to tax rich people more, but they don't want to do that. They want to say, well, we need you to start breeding.
But as you said,
and we won't look at any of the other issues about why people aren't.
Yeah.
You go back to our parents' generation, right? They had a single income, which was enough to raise a household with full-time carer at home. We can't do that. People are settled with student loans until God knows when. They're renting until they die. You can extrapolate that out even further to environmental concerns. Do I even want to bring a child into this world?
Yeah,
it's grim, and he's not talking about that. He's kind of like saying we're not having kids because we're lazy.
Lazy sex. So as Claire's saying here, who can afford more children? LOL. National have told people not to have kids they can't afford for years. Exactly. But the other thing, obviously, is the immigration. There's two ways to solve this problem. One is massive immigration. Yes, to live as we're living right now, we need a population increase. But as Chewy, as you're saying, even though I think he did reference and will reference immigration and a mix of the both, but that's the other way around it. If we want to keep things the way they are, if we want to keep the retirement age where it is, if we don't want to tax the wealthy more, and when I say we, I mean the government, then the only other option is migrants. And migrants at the moment would add to the tax take immediately. You wouldn't have to wait fucking 18 years for them to be born and grow up and then start adding back into the pool. So the same, well, I guess it's not a policy from National, but it feels like the same parties that will be getting on board this whole, have more babies are also the ones who are going, whoa, to immigration. Now, the reason he doesn't understand politics yet is that this comes off the back of his abortion is tantamount to murder, i.e. we got to keep those babies in the womb being born. Women will pay for their prescriptions, i.e. more people will get pregnant. So now his third strike is we need to have more babies. Now, I'm not actually saying that he is actively saying that from his religious roots, but what I'm saying is he doesn't fucking understand politics if he thinks that this is not going to give another layer of foundation for his opposers to now use that as this person wanting to control women's bodies. You know what I mean? It's like, I would imagine the attack ads will be out tomorrow. And again, Nicola Willis will come out and say, oh, baseless, gutter. And actually not baseless, because this has just added another layer to the things that are already being said about. And look, I'll be fair. Whether it's fair or not, whether it's what he thinks or not, doesn't matter. Perception is reality, and he still doesn't understand the game of politics. Making comments about women having babies a week after National's going to get women to pay for contraception, 12 months after he said abortion is tantamount to murder. You know, it's like he doesn't understand this game. He doesn't get it.
He's bad at this because he's a fucking amateur. Like, people used to have a go at Jacinda for being a career politician. This is what you get when you get a career politician. You get someone that's good at politics and can string can actually workshop live in her own brain the consequences of what she's saying, rather than someone thinking, popping out a funny, which is a racist, white supremacist trope, bad immigration policy, doesn't tie in with anything else that he said or stood for.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if we're talking about more immigration, Cole, we walk straight into another argument of like, oh, but our infrastructure can't handle it. We don't have enough houses, and they're taking our jobs, and they're putting up the housing prices. And now we're back to a housing crisis again. It's like there's no coherent thought.